beauty of a computer is that we could duplicate information indefinitely. Right now we're recording this podcast. Someone watching this could download it, duplicate it 10,000 times, upload it on 10,000 different podcasts. All information up to this point, computing-wise, we have been able to replicate. And so that's what we intuitively think all digital things have to be.
In this enlightening conversation with Luke Broyles on the Thank God for Bitcoin podcast, we delve deep into the fascinating intersection of money, conflict, and Bitcoin. Luke guides us through a journey into the heart of a crucial issue, how inflating the money supply can set the stage for turmoil. More importantly, we'll explore how Bitcoin emerges as a beacon of hope and a path towards stability in a world teetering on the edge of financial distress. Money is often seen as the lifeblood of nations and a cornerstone of civilization. But what happens when this lifeblood starts to degrade? When the foundations of an economy weaken, instability brews, and conflict looms on the horizon. One of the things that makes Bitcoin so incredible is that it is uncopyable digital information. You cannot send it to someone while keeping a copy for yourself on your computer. This is one of the reasons why Bitcoin has become the world's most secure monetary network. There are many reasons, however, so stay with us until the end to learn why Bitcoin is unreplicable.
Bitcoin is essentially an algorithm that is reinforcing its own scarcity. It is fundamentally, first and foremost, not a financial thing. What it is it's a self-defense network. It's basically like this giant immune system. The reason why it's good money, the reason why people should consider allocating, all that is downstream of the first principles. And the first principle is this is a computer network that, like other computer networks, defends itself. And what this thing happens to be defending is not some, piece of information by some paywall or some, private secure. What it's defending is a line of code, an equation that's a fixed number. That's essentially what it is. This is information that's open source. It's public. Anyone can copy Bitcoin, and people have copied Bitcoin numerous times. But the difference is that as far as defending that equation and defending that equation's value, really there is no second best, as others would say. That Bitcoin is the most secure compared to everything else by millions of times. Hundreds of thousands to millions of times easily. It is far more secure in that sense, and far more, therefore, difficult to reproduce. Bitcoin's been around for 15 years. Right now it's worth $500 billion. It was $1 trillion or more. And it's open source code. It's 30,000 lines of code. Okay, me sitting here, I've looked at the tech. You've looked at it too. It's like, if I could duplicate this, I would. Like, $500 billion for 15 years sitting out there, open source. The code can be copied. The value cannot be copied. So let's say a game of chess. This metaphor has been given many times before. The rules of a game of chess are open source. Anyone can look at a game of chess and be like, okay, the rook moves this way, the queen moves that way, the king moves this way. You win this way, you lose in that way. The rules of chess are open source. You can copy the rules of chess. I can make Luke chess. And, okay, the rook doesn't go horizontally. It also goes diagonally like the bishop. I can make my own rules. And, okay, I can do that an infinite number of times. But I can't convince people to play my version of chess. It's the first version of chess people want because it's the set of rules that works the best and it's the most fair to them. And it's the same way with Bitcoin. People have copied Bitcoin numerous times, and they've done so for a variety of reasons. But these are all different forms of chess. So yes, they're copying it in the same way they're copying the rules and tweaking it slightly to their own advantage. Because they have alternated the rules, because they've put it inside human control and distorted it to their benefit at the direct expense of everyone involved, at the direct expense of all the users, that inherently makes it inferior. So every copy is inherently inferior. So you can think of Bitcoin as this line of code, this algorithm, that's designed to not confiscate, destroy, or manipulate the wealth of any user. And so inherently, any copy of it, any dilution of that, any change that now benefits one user of it, it's like, okay, it's completely worthless. And like, sure, it might, you can pretend like it has some value, but long term, like, it will be viewed as worthless because it's like your fake version of chess is going to be worthless. Or let's take another example of the internet. The internet, and this is perhaps even a better example, the internet in the 80s and 90s, there were many internets, and most people don't realize that today, but there were many internets. There were some internets that were centralized, and that's most of them actually. And then there were some that were not. the one people are listening to this on right now is the one that was not.
Today's video is sponsored by Stamp Seed. Don't store your Bitcoin in cold storage without stamping your seed phrase on an indestructible titanium plate. Stamp Seed is fireproof, rust-proof, impact-proof, and easy to hide. It has no loose parts and will give you ultimate peace of mind that your Bitcoin is safe and sound for the long term. Click the link in the description below for 15% off your stamping kit. Welcome to Bit Intelligence. We are committed to bringing you top-notch Bitcoin-only content, twice weekly. Doing this is quite a lot of work. If you are enjoying it and you'd like to support us in making more of these videos, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. If you are willing to go a step further, we've also launched memberships starting as low as $2.99 per month. There are details and a sign-up link in the description below. If you're already a Bitcoiner and you'd prefer to tip your server in sats, you can donate to our Lightning wallet, here. Okay, back to the video.
So you can duplicate the internet as many times as you want, but the internet protocol, TCP/IP, that does not manipulate the information of its users is the one that wins. Like if you're listening to this, you've literally only used one internet in your life. So yeah, you could copy Bitcoin as many times as you want. You could copy it 100 trillion times for all I care. You could copy the internet 100 trillion times for all I care. You could copy chess 100 billion times or whatever. But the set of rules that is best suited is the one that will be dominant against everything else. So again, Bitcoin is this kind of immune system that defends itself against human intervention within itself, and because it does that so well, it inherently prevents against attacks elsewhere of duplications of it. I could sit here and explain to you how the treasury market works, or how the Fed works, or how Congress works, or how, election cycle. I could explain those technicals. Really, you don't need to know that. What you need to know fundamentally is that they can create money. And so the incentive is have your team have just enough influence over the other team that you get the seat of power where you can control the money printer lever. But at the same time, you don't want to have too much power, because if you have too much power and the competing party doesn't have enough power, then you have sole control to where your money printer is always on and nobody trusts the currency anymore. And so what you need are two groups that have roughly the same amount of power that are constantly competing over that lever. Okay, you could look at that the lever for money printing, the button for money printing, and look at history. Look at Germany in the 1930s. You had the communists and you had the fascists. Look at Britain and their internal conflicts. Look at the United States and the American Revolution. All this political power trends towards two competing factions over the ability to create money and therefore also create the laws and the policies, the rules and regulations of the society. And so the reason that's so predictable is because that's just game theory and incentives. With Bitcoin, the difference is that you inherently cannot operate within Bitcoin unless you agree to that certain set of rules. So like with the game of chess, you inherently cannot play that game of chess unless you metaphorically sign this contract saying, I will follow all these rules, and if I don't, I will be kicked out. And that's how it is with Bitcoin. You inherently cannot spend Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin. You inherently can't do that unless you are directly, voluntarily saying, I will agree to the given rules of this system. If I'm aiding Bitcoin's strength and success and stability, I get compensated in Bitcoin. I get compensated in this thing I find valuable. And if I then interject, say, actually, I want to change it a little bit, now all of a sudden, I don't get compensated. And so in the same way that political currency incentivizes people to have more and more political power and centralize that armchair of money printing further and further indefinitely until all trust is lost, in contrast with Bitcoin, you only get to operate within Bitcoin if you provide energy to it and if you follow those rules. Everyone in power that has any access to their own money printer hates Bitcoin. Politicians hate it. They've made it very clear they hate it. Banks hate it. A lot of people hate it. And all the people that make those duplicate Bitcoins hate Bitcoin. Again, those core developers in 2017, when they duplicated it, what was their biggest incentive now? Kill Bitcoin. And again, they failed. They destroyed themselves and they made Bitcoin stronger. But what you need to understand is the incentive structure And once you understand that, you get the basic gist. Political currency is designed to cannibalize its own value over time, and we can see that firsthand, both from history, the hundreds of examples, but also anecdotally, you can feel it. Compare that to Bitcoin, and it's the polar opposite. In fiat, in political currency, you are rewarded for kicking the can down the road. Or Bitcoin, it's the literal polar opposite. And if you don't agree with that, then you're kicked out because you're a risk to the network. Like, if I had all the money in the world, if I had all the electricity in the world, how can I kill this thing? And I still, to this day, can't think of anything reasonably that could destroy it without destroying the rest of the world. I mean, like, the only way to destroy it would be if, you destroy the internet and computers and the grid and all productivity. So at that point, then it's just silly to worry about that. You can't print or destroy any of it. It has to be a fixed number. That's the only way that you can take humans out of the loop. A fixed number that cannot be changed later.
Luke's insights shed light on the transformative power of Bitcoin in securing a more stable and equitable future for us all. Watch Michael Saylor's best explanation of Bitcoin here. We'll see you next time.